Okay, beautiful humans, welcome back to We Are Already Free. This is a very exciting episode for me. There's a whole lot of wonderful things unfolding in my life right now, and we're going to get into that. But the question I want to open with here for you is, do you ever feel like your mind just will not leave you alone? Like those thoughts are just spinning and spinning and spinning. You know you're overthinking, but you just can't stop. I don't know if you've heard the term rumination, where it's just like, when do I get to actually make decisions from a place of calm, centered connectedness, and yet the mind games continue? Every decision, every relationship, every step forward, spiraling into loops of self-doubt, of confusion, of paralysis. If so, I feel you. I have been there, and I do end up there at times, even with all the tools I've learned along the way, the breath work, the men's work, the personal development for many years. I still find myself trapped in my head, feeling disconnected from my body and really from others and from life itself. And honestly, that disconnection comes at a very, very high price. A high price in love, a high price in work, and in self-worth, in how I see myself. But things are changing. And they are changing because I have discovered a body-based approach that we are diving into in today's episode. As I have processed and studied this incredible modality over the last 3 months to the point that I'm now certified as a facilitator, I started to notice things that kind of blew my mind. Like really my gut, my intuition, really my body knowing what was true, and my nervous system actually settling in real time, letting that inner critic go quiet and calm as my body comes back online. And here's a crazy statistic for you. 80% of the communication channels between head and body are from body to mind. And how many of you listening right now try to just solve it all in your head without really checking in with those body's messages? This is the opportunity to shift, because today I'm speaking with a man who has created a method that has helped and is helping to unlock this beautiful body conversation for me. Matthew T Cooke, the founder of Body-Based Breakthrough. He's guided people at Apple, at SpaceX, at Google, but more importantly, he's teaching everyday humans like you and me how to come back to our bodies and back to our truth. I've just completed his 3-month B3 certification to become a trauma-informed somatic coach. And if you don't know what that means, don't worry, we will get into all of it. So whether you're a man who's ticked all the boxes on paper, but you're feeling disconnected from others or empty inside, or you're someone who just wants to stop thinking so fucking much and start feeling again, this one is for you. You are in the right place. When you hear the words, "we are already free," what comes up for you?
Acceptance.
Change.
A shift in awareness.
Human beings are so powerful.
There's so much more.
Everything is love behind it.
Breaking the chains of your own mind.
That which remains.
Nature.
Getting out of the matrix.
We're sitting on the treasure and it's already unlocked.
We are already free.
You're free.
You are a walking map.
Have always been free.
You are always free, already free.
We are already free.
Awesome. I can't hear you at the moment, Nathan, but maybe that's just
That would
the
be
chime.
me. Welcome, welcome. I don't know why I was muted there. It's good to have you here. How are you doing today?
Thanks, man. I'm doing awesome. Super excited to be here with you again. It's such a joy to chat with you. So I always feel so much more connected to myself after we chat. So I'm excited for today.
Well, it's interesting you say that, because I always feel so much more connected to myself when I practice B3. And it's been almost, oh man, I don't know what word to use for it. The word that comes up is like embarrassingly simple when I in myself, because I have a tendency to get very complicated about all the things I need to do to feel good about myself. Like, okay, have I done my 30 minutes of breath work and my ice bath and my journaling and my million other things that then enable me to feel like an okay human in the world? And then stepping into your practice, into B3, and being like, wait, it can be this gentle, this soft. And so, yeah, hearing what you just said is like, I feel more connected to myself every time we connect too, good sir. So thank you very much.
Yeah. Oh, thanks, Nathan. Well, it's interesting as you say that, it makes me think of like, I think for many of us, we have checklists, right? We have all the things that we need to be doing. And they're great, they're helpful. And what's really interesting is I find that the more that I do this work on my nervous system, the more I'm naturally inclined to do those things. And they don't feel like a to-do list item that like I have to check off and feel like the relief of like, oh, I did the thing. Otherwise, I feel guilt and shame for having not done it. Instead, it's like I'm just naturally more drawn to those things because I can feel viscerally in my body, like I slow down enough to go, yeah, this actually feels really good. It's kind of like when you're eating like shit for a while and you keep eating like fast food or whatever. It's like eventually you actually feel like, oh, I just feel kind of gross in my body. And then you start to eat fresh foods again. And, you know, even if it's in small amounts and you start to go, wow, I'm like actually feeling like I have more energy and I feel just more vitally alive. And I find that the more that I do the nervous system work, the more that I feel connected to sensation and to even like emotion and then like the behaviors that I take end up being things that are just like better. Well, I want to take it out of like morality of like good and bad, but it's like I end up doing those things that used to be checklist items, but I do them from a place of like, this just feels good. So I'm just going to do that. It's just like what I want to do, not like trying to force myself to do the thing. And so I don't know if that's at all what you were speaking to, but I feel excited about that's where those morning routines and the cold plunges and all those things can come from. Whereas I know for so long, and for potentially for many of your men listening, that it can come from this place of like, well, it's like just another thing I got to do in the 30,000 other things I have to accomplish today. So I notice the more that I do this nervous system work, the more that those things become automatic.
I want to dive a bit into that actually, and we will dive in a moment. For anyone who's kind of curious really about what is somatic work, what does it mean to be trauma informed, all those like more practical things, we're going to get into that. But I really want this to be a free flowing dialogue. And so you've just said something that has really goes deep into my own experience. And I imagine that for many listening, it might be the same, but morality, the good and the bad. And this is like, I actually had a dear brother who does very powerful body work. I had a session with him just a couple of weeks ago, and he said the same thing to me because we've done a lot of work together. And he's like, yeah, you've got that morality thing going on. And so for me, I'll just like a brief context is like, I am often judging things or generally judging things based on good or bad, or like this is this, if I do this, then I'm a good person. If I do that, I'm a bad person. And I put other people on pedestals or myself on a pedestal. And there's this kind of hierarchical motion. And I'd love to hear from you with all your depth and breadth of knowledge around these things. What might be happening there from a nervous system perspective, or like what is it that my story or my narrative is trying to help me with there? Like what's the potential positive intention of that way of seeing the world?
Yeah, that's a great question, Nathan. I mean, like with our caregivers or parents growing up, you know, we felt a lot of things, especially pre-verbal, like developmentally, like, you know, before we have words. But even as we start to get words, it's like, oh, I feel this like thing in my tummy when mommy talks about that thing, you know, talks about, I don't know, how we eat at this household and that there's good, bad ways and bad ways. And they kind of lock in my physiology in some kind of way where it's like, I associate that feeling that later might become unconscious, but that feeling in my belly is like, that is good or that is bad. And so I start to put thoughts or meaning to those feelings inside of my belly. And so what's fascinating is you're talking about like 80% of the communication between the brain and the body is the body actually communicating to the brain. So many times we think that, oh, it's like I have a thought first and then it informs my body, but it's actually the other way around. Our body receives 12 million stimuli per second, which is just nutty. 12 million stimuli per second. Yeah, per second. So like the temperature of the room, how much my lungs are expanding, my heartbeat, it's tracking like where the food is digesting in my belly and all of the different things. And then my conscious mind can only process 40 to 50 bits per second. So anyways, the good, the bad is just, it's really just shorthand that like my brain to like cut down on trying to have to interpret every single tiny signal that's happening every second.
Sorry, mate.
It's all good. Yeah. It's like, instead of having to have that happen all the time, the good, the bad, or excuse me, all the different feelings that I'm feeling, the good, the bad is a good shorthand that we learn growing up. And so, yeah, I think at some point we can decide to deconstruct that a little bit and go like, well, is anything inherently good or bad? I don't know. I mean, yeah, there probably are some things that I might choose to decide in this life, like, taking advantage of, like poor and helpless animals or children or whatever it might be. Like, those things, for me, is like, that's bad, and there are a lot of things that we can decide that are good or bad. But I think it's worth exploring as we get older. It's like, what are the things that we might interpret as bad growing up that, like, as I get older, I might go like, well, maybe that's not so bad. A silly example that's just coming to my mind at the moment is like debt. I think we all, or many of us, learned that like having debt is so not a good thing to have. And I've also had mentors that have been like, but the truth is sometimes by going into a little bit of debt, it can sometimes accelerate my growth to get me. So it's allowing me to have money right now that allows me to go do the thing I need to do to accelerate my growth in life in some way. And so I had to take that out of the bad bucket and put that into the good bucket, or I got to choose to do that. That's just a silly example, but there's a million examples that, yeah, I think going outside of good and bad, and what I've started to think more about is, does it give me the result that I want? That doesn't hurt me, doesn't hurt others, and doesn't necessarily hurt the earth. So if it gives me a result that like feels like a win-win-win for everybody, then I'm less concerned about like, is it good? Is it bad? I think there's a lot of things that we grow up in, especially if we grow up in religious households in some form or fashion, like even relationship to sexuality and sensuality. Like there's a lot of things in religion around that stuff that's like, well, that's just like religious shame that we're kind of given at a young age that we get to like explore as we get older. It's like, is that bad?
Dude,
yeah.
You're bringing to mind actually one of the sessions I had, and I can share this because it was my session this with Body-Based Breakthrough. And again, we're going to get into the practicalities, but this is the stuff that's really getting me like pumped up right now. And historically, I have felt like for me to process some of the bigger pain in my life, some of the wounding, and also just again, more context is like one of the ways my nervous system was set up as a young person before I had the capacity to manage my own nervous system is that if I was expressing too much emotion, and I imagine a lot of dudes might resonate with this, but like boys don't cry, or basically this idea of if I wasn't bleeding and I was crying or wanting to throw a tantrum or kind of throw my toys out the cot, as they say, like if I wanted to kind of get bigger in my emotional expression, whether that was crying or moving my body or flailing around, the message I got was, stop crying or I'll give you something to cry about. And it's such a cliche to say that. But basically what I noticed a few years ago, I had kind of an epiphany moment where I was getting into a really challenging spot in, like I was feeling really stuck in my head and I couldn't move the energy. And honestly, what came up was I wanted to hit myself. I wanted to physically hurt myself. And I've actually, again, many, many years ago now, I punched a table so hard that I broke my fist. And in all those things in hindsight, realizing, oh, my nervous system, when I get those big feelings, my understanding is, well, now you need physical pain because that's how we deal with big feelings. Wow. And so bringing that into the present with B3 is like, I've often found, I'll go into the ice baths or into the big plant medicine ceremony or the big breath work session of transfer, like where I'm shaking and it's all like super intense and it does feel cathartic. And I use all those tools. They're amazing tools. Like I facilitate a lot of those tools. And at the same time, what I found, especially I'm just thinking of that one session, is I was kind of moving around going through B3 and suddenly I just started feeling big emotion and I just started like crying, but deep crying, like big tears. But there wasn't a push, there wasn't a fight, there wasn't this fear or this feeling of overwhelm, or like I had to punch through a huge wall to get there. And I actually felt very present and soft with it. And so that for me was almost like that's what the child Nathan needed, was that when those emotions came, it was like, this is totally okay. We're here, we love you, and just let it happen, and we're with you. And so that's what I've kind of seen of the difference is, I don't know why that came up right now, but that was an amazing one. And what is the difference that I'm experiencing there? And again, it's not a good or bad thing. I love breathwork, I love plant medicine, I love all these things. But like what's happening in a B3 session why does it feel so gentle and so like, like it's just okay to just move into the state without it being a huge story.
Yeah. We talk about it in the program. This is so good, Nathan. We talk about it in the program. It's like forced maturity versus organic maturity. And so if I grew up in a household where mom and dad, metaphorically, or caregivers threw me into the deep end of the pool, and it was like, well, good luck, figure out how to swim. My nervous system is set up for the stress response, for like, okay, I can achieve, I can succeed, I can find results in the 3D world, but they occur through stress. Like that's how we make things happen, is through stress, or through adversity. And sometimes that's because that's probably how they were raised. So this is not like a blame game. It's not to say that anybody's bad or wrong for doing anything that they did. It's that's probably most likely what was passed down to them. And so it's like, I want to bring a lot of compassion for that. And the other option, a new opportunity that I can explore, is what was missing at that time. Like what did little Nathan need? Did he actually just need somebody to just like be there and go, I'm not going anywhere. And I really like, you're feeling really big emotions right now, Nathan. And like, this is big. This is scary, like to really feel attuned with, to feel seen, to feel like heard and known, and that like I can be as big as I want to be. That's something that we get to then like relearn as adults, that we can have that. And so in B3, we go through a channel of, instead of the stress responses, we can look at the pleasure response. And pleasure is like a strong word for it. That's what some of our teachers use in the somatics world. But pleasure response just being like, I can grow my capacity through to handle adversity in life through a way that I'm growing through what feels good. Again, if we're, like what feels like innately good to me versus what feels stressful or scary or bad. And that, that's the way that we can grow our capacity. Yes. One of the ways.
Yeah, that was a big moment for me when in the course, it was quite early on, I think, where you basically said, like, you quoted, I think, one of your teachers maybe, or someone you inspired, but like, how good do you remember the quote? Like,
how good can you take it? How good can I take it?
The work is pleasure or something like that as well?
Oh, yeah. The job is enjoyment.
The job is enjoyment.
But someone's got to do it.
But like those things for me, when I hear that, and I'm so curious if anyone's listening to this episode and being like, does that also feel like a different way to how you approach or have been approaching success or a life of meaning and purpose and connection? Because those things were major unlocks for me. So let's actually take it into some practicality. Like, what does it mean? So you teach. Yes, please go ahead.
Can I really quick? So just like one thought though too, just because I can imagine that there's men listening to this that are like, yeah, but it's gotten me so much success, and I actually kind of have learned to like it. Like there is, so one of my teachers actually calls it an addiction to intensity. And so I want you to just check those like mental scripts that you might have around this stuff, which is like, and maybe it does feel kind of good on some level, but recognize that maybe that is actually something also that's been trained, that like I've trained myself to go like, I like the pain. I like the intensity. And that just to slow down and like, is there other options? Because what I want in my nervous system is actually flexibility. I want agency to be able to choose in the moment which modality I want to go with. So like maybe sometimes the stress response and the pain and the like David Goggins, like just do it, like that
I
can
was
just
just thinking of
feel,
him.
yeah, like sometimes that pain just feels good. But one of the things that worries me about David Goggins, and that I've heard from a lot of my teachers as well, is that he only has one mode. Like it's kind of two-dimensional. It's like, and it's like, it's great. It works for him. At least it seems like it's working for him. But what I personally want in my nervous system is the ability to change the channel and the ability to consciously with my mind, right? I know a lot of like us dudes and even women like that, like for folks that it's like, I want to be able to use my mind to make decisions. I want to be able to use willpower. I want to be able to think logically, to do the, to be smart about this, to think smarter, not harder. And so I'm like, well, what if I could actually in the moment choose which decision I want to make? Do I want to do this the hard way, or do I want to do this like in a more gentle way? And that both could be valid options. So that's the thing I don't ever want to tell people is like the way you're doing it's wrong. Because again, that's living in this like good or bad binary.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, it's probably not. It's just like, I want multiple ways to go about doing this.
Yeah, I mean, dude,
Does that make sense? What I'm saying?
100%. No, like
okay.
you. So I've experienced burnout, like, and it's and I say that like it's such a not. There you go. Like I remember you told me in the last episode that was kind of one of the things that got you into this. Was this whole thing of and you were working in the wellness industry as well, I think, in weren't you in like the sort of conscious coaching, transformational, and you burnt out, and so like we could dive into that again as well, but in this moment, this piece around burnout for me was. It's like I pushed so hard and I was so like, and I did it. I was a successful independent singer-songwriter. I had one of the most successful Patreon pages as a musician in the world. Like I killed it. And then I killed myself. Like I fell apart and I just couldn't work out why can't I just get up and do the thing? Just like do it. Just keep doing it. And I just didn't have the capacity in my nervous system. I now understand. And actually, I really would love to take this into the practical. And obviously, any reflections you have. But what is B3 and what does it mean to be, like this idea of somatic and this idea of trauma-informed and this kind of melding that is the body-based breakthrough method? Yeah.
Oh, man, I love that. I actually want to pull up on my side. There's a way that we talk about this that I just love, and I want to make sure that it's like so B3 or body-based breakthrough. It's a somatic coaching approach where we're deepening our relationship with the mind, the body, and our actions. It's probably the most succinct way that I can say that. So I'm interested in not eating with my mind all of the time, but being able to have choice, like we're saying, between a conversation between my mind, my body, and my actions. So it's a combination of gentle movement, breath work, and journaling, where we're taking a look at, and I know sometimes people are like, oh, journaling though, I don't know about that. It's a very simple structure actually. And Nathan has talked about this. It's like, it's a very simple structure that just sort of sets you up for success, to find, again, your version of success, with looking at a current challenge in my life. So like, there's just one area of my life at this moment that's like, man, how do I get my health on track? How do I repair with my partner? What's the next step in my career? So it's usually like a what or a how question. And we access what we call body wisdom. But frankly, it's just slowing down enough, just a smidge. It's like, I know a lot of us run real fast, so that's cool. It's not necessarily a problem. It's slowing down just enough to just be able to sit in the silence for a moment of, I don't know the answer to this question. And I move and I breathe. And for those of us that can't really sit still, it's kind of nice because we're just doing a little bit of moving, a little bit of breathing, very simply. And then all of a sudden, bing, right? It's like a lot of us have shower thoughts, those thoughts that bubble up as we are in the shower, on a long walk on the beach, on a long drive, walking our kids around, whatever it might be. But we're sort of in this space where we're not actively mentally focused on anything. Maybe there's like a seed of a question in our heads, and then suddenly, boom, that thing just hits us. So we could get into coupling dynamics and all the different things around that too with how the brain works. But essentially, that's what body-based breakthrough is doing, is allowing us to spend a few moments without having to like try to force the thing, which is what is sort of the consciousness of burnout, is like trying to force and find the thing right now. And that's where I certainly got tossed about by life, was trying to like force everything all the time. So actually, by having a more open perspective for just a little bit, we can kind of go on this date with our body.
I love that.
And it creates really cool results. Yeah.
Dude, well, let's talk about results actually. And I'm curious because you work with some of the people who in our society are considered the kind of most successful by, again, society standards, not necessarily by the individual, although a lot of us are kind of aspiring towards that, of like the SpaceX, the Google, these kind of, so those people care about results. Like they don't, okay, cool, you want to go on a date with your body, that's so cool. It's like, I love that, and that makes sense to me. But what is it about the kind of results that people experience? Like what is, like you've talked about burnout, is that one of the challenges, or are there other challenges that people come to you with from those kind of environments? And then what are the results they get from something like B3?
That's a great question. Yeah, so it's where someone chronically is living in a world where they feel anxious or burnt out or depressed, or like ADHD, and in the sort of somatics or the nervous system world, we would talk about that as chronic dysregulation, like a nervous system that's chronically outside of its capacity, or what we call technically, Dan Siegel, a gentleman who has been talking about this stuff since the early 90s, coined as the window of tolerance. So I have this sort of window of capacity that ideally I want to grow over time, but that is my ability to perform and be in the world. And so if I'm chronically anxious, that means I'm actually past that window of capacity, or that window of tolerance. And if I'm chronically depressed, I'm actually below it. So the ideal is that I'm sort of in this Goldilocks like middle ground, where I'm not too activated, I'm not too intensified, and I'm not too tired or too like low. So it's this Goldilocks middle. One of my teachers, Peter Levine of somatic experiencing, he calls it relaxed alertness. Relaxed alertness. And I just love that phrasing. But essentially, that's why people come to me, because they are chronically outside of that window of tolerance. And that's why they come to body-based breakthrough, because they have the way that they've been doing it isn't working anymore. It's like it worked for a long time, and those strategies really worked for a long time. But then at some point they stopped working, and they want to find a new way to do it. And so that's what we're exploring, is how do I find, and Nathan knows this from the program, inspired action. So I still want to take action in the world. In fact, I'm like, personally as Matthew, I'm allergic to not taking action, because I very much so am a high achiever. I'm just like you, Nathan. Like I'm a high performer, and I want to like create a massive impact in the work that I'm doing in the world. So even when I was in the tech industry, working the 70-hour work weeks, I really, and nowadays it's even more than that. It's like close to 100 and plus sometimes for folks. It's intense. It's an intense, like pushing in, like I can't think of the word, but it's this, it's this intense pressure cooker for many people, to be in that environment. And so the goal is, how can I just like ease off the gas, even if it's just to be with me or with Nathan, myself, or with Nathan or one of our other B3 practitioners, for even like 30 minutes, 45 minutes, just to simply explore like, well, what is my body actually asking of me right now, in exploring the high pressure situations that I'm under. And what's really cool is people find some really creative solutions. And we find that, so thinking about the model of the brain, and I don't even know if we've described this, Nathan, but we have sort of the brain stem. And then inside of that, we have, and the brainstem is all about survival. So like, the very back of our brain is the reptilian brain, as people might say. And that's purely survival. It's just staying alive and procreation. And then we have our amygdala and sort of the emotional part of the brain. And then on top of that, we have the prefrontal cortex, like the actual frontal lobes. And this is where all the creation and all of the like beautiful nuance and possibilities of life exist. And unfortunately for many of us, we have flipped our lid, as Dan Siegel says, and we are operating purely out of this, it's like, again, it loses all creativity, and it's all about instinct, and it's all about survival, and it's all about how do I just survive right now. So when you think about it from that perspective, it's like, I'm just trying to survive. So I don't want to have 100 options. I actually, if I'm just trying to survive, I just want black or white. I want yes or no. I want good or bad, because I don't have time to be thinking about any of this stuff. So I just need to live in a binary life. So what we ultimately want to do is like bring that lid back online to where I have the ability to think through things and have a duplicity of options, like so many available options to me. So that's why people come to me, and that's why they come to this work, because they want to be able to see a wider scope of possibility.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, dude. I mean, but it's just so interesting to me because of how, again, the term I keep wanting to use is gentle, but it's gentle but deep. It's like free diving, man. I don't know if anyone out there is unfamiliar, but I did some free diving back in the day, and the deepest I ever went down to was 23 meters. I don't know what that is in feet.
Wow.
But the experience of that, it's both super intense and there's pressure. So from 10 meters down, this is just like a little aside, but maybe there's a reason I'm telling this story. But from around 10 meters down, so usually if you hold your breath and then you go into water, you'll just bob up to the top because you're full of air. But what happens around the 10-meter mark is the pressure of the water becomes so great that it neutralizes your buoyancy. So from 10 meters down, and so basically what I'm doing is I'm taking a deep breath and I'm pulling myself hand over hand down a rope into the depths. And at first there's this feeling of being pulled back up because of buoyancy, but around 10 meters, it neutralizes. And after that, I just let go of the rope and just hold my hands around it. And I just start sliding head first into the depths because of negative buoyancy, because of the amount of pressure. And yet,
Love this.
I am completely calm, because the only way to do it is completely calm. Because the more upregulated I get, the more I go into something like fight or flight, the faster my heart rate is going to go, the faster I burn oxygen, and the less I can actually have this experience. And so there is this sense of, so that's kind of what I'm thinking of with B3. It's simple and it's gentle, but it's that kind of depth. It's like I'm going head first into whatever the experiences are, or the expressions that I never got to express, or the loops I never got to close, or whatever it is that never got to happen, as you said earlier, like what didn't get to happen here. And I'm going into that, but I'm going into it in a way where I still feel like I'm good. I can grab this rope and go back up to the top anytime I like. Like this is completely in my control, but I'm choosing to sink into these depths and just be with this. So it's just incredible to me. Like that makes sense why people who are operating, these super high functioning people in the tech industries, like one of the most high intensity industries, and they're coming to you and to the B3 practitioners for this work. So I just really, it's just so cool how our bodies are designed to be able to take us through these processes if we just have the right framework for it. And again, as you know, obviously I did your course, so I'm a believer, man. It works.
Thanks, Nathan. Well, and I love that metaphor so much. And I also imagine that if you didn't have a rope and you didn't have people up top, knowing that like they were there with you in this experience of going in deep, I imagine it would be a lot harder to go that deep.
Dude. Oh man, that's so beautiful that you say that, because actually part of the way that it's always done and always should be done with freediving is as I'm coming back up, because that's the most dangerous part, is those last 10 meters to the surface. Is I didn't take myself to the point where I was on the edge of running out of air, but that's where someone will run out of air if they do. And so what happens is that another diver will dive down to around 10 meters, and then we're both swimming up. So I've turned around, I'm going up head first up, and as they come down to where I am, they meet my eyes, and we look into each other's eyes for the final 10 meters of rising. So we rise staring into each other's eyes, because if anything happens, they've got me. They're right there, like ready to just grab hold, bring me to the surface and support me. So you're 100% right. Having the rope, having the support, having these tools in place, these supports in place, these relationships in place is what enables me to go deep. Dude, I love this metaphor.
I am obsessed with this metaphor. Wow. I almost find myself wanting to cry. It's like such a beautiful, it's just such a beautiful metaphor, man, for what this work can be. I mean, and really all this is attachment theory, and we don't have to spend the rest of the podcast talking about this, but but it is like we are repairing something deeply developmental for many of us. It's like, I didn't get to do these things when I was younger. I didn't get to like explore these parts of myself. And so if I don't have a blueprint for that, if I've never really gotten a chance to dive into those places, and it feels like a big risk to do that, I sure as hell am not going to do it by myself. So if I have another person that's willing to go 10 meters deep and meet me and lock eyes with me and come up and have me feel safe that like they've got me, man, I'll go 10 meters, I'll go 20 meters, I'll go 30, I'll go 70, whatever, all the meters, because I know that I can come up, and that at least at the 10 that they'll meet me there. Yeah. And that's what a B3 somatic coach does. That's what a practitioner does, is allows it. Yeah. It's an ability to meet somebody in their depths. Yeah, well,
I've found that in our sessions while we were going through the course, when we would, you would take us through, and then we were taking each other through. And my experience is generally still that I prefer being guided through a session, even after 3 months of it, like, because it is that rope, it is that person there. Just there's a container that I can then be like, I'm safe here. I don't have to think about like, or get like, because sometimes there are some, what I would say are uncomfortable things that come up for me, feelings or thoughts or like ideas that like, oh, I'm thinking something that I want to move away from, and yet I'm choosing to stay with it because that's the process. Like I'm here in it. And then it's okay because someone is there being like, just that, take all the time you need, just these support, these things that I didn't hear as a kid, just that, take all the time you need. It's like, oh, thank you so much. Wow.
Yeah, to know that I'm not going to be like left. I think that's the biggest fear for many of us. I'm certainly that way. I don't know that everyone is, because again, I know enough about attachment theory, but for those of us who feel a little anxious, who tend to run a little anxious, it's in the sort of attachment theory, it's called preoccupied as we get into adulthood. But, those of us who run a little anxious, it's kind of this fear that like, if I go away, if I go into those depths and I spend that level of time with myself, that I'll come back up to the surface and you won't be there. Dude. It's terrifying.
It's so interesting, because this is exactly, like I was saying before we started recording, I'm starting to pivot more towards working with men, especially those men who've kind of ticked all the boxes and like, I did all the right things, but why do I feel so alone? And not only alone, but often feel like they have to be performing in every area of their lives. And so they never really have the opportunity to drop into presence and into that vulnerability of like, here's all of me. And a lot of the time it's that thing of like, if the story is, if they see me, whoever they are, whether that's the partner or the family or the friends, if they see what's really going on in here, man, they will be out of there so fast. And so, and I've noticed, I mean, I've worked with probably as many men as I have with women, but I'm noticing there are just so many men out there who really have the same narrative of, I've just got to if I can just hold it together and push it down long enough, then I'll get my needs met.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Or I'll get the love that I want.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Like really be able to receive it. Yeah, man, I've been on this path now for, at least like really getting into this attachment stuff over the last like year or so, which is kind of wild because I've been doing this work overall for about 15 years, but it's been the last year I've been really focusing on attachment theory. And yeah, it's one of our teachers, his name's George Haas. He's got an incredible podcast called I Love You, Keep Going. Whoa. And he talks about pretend mode. And that for many of us that are preoccupied or anxious, that we kind of do run around the world in this sort of pretend mode, because it's like, well, if I perform at a high level and provide a ton of value and all the things, then like you will love me and you won't leave me. And so, I don't know, I find myself pretending all the time. I kind of call that part the entertainer, you know, and I'm trying so desperately to like really just be going at my pace, like at Matthew's pace, and trusting that the right people that do love me are going to stick around. Yeah, man. And it's terrifying. It's absolutely fucking terrifying.
I totally
But
resonate.
it's called abandonment terror. It's like this, just like this terror that overtakes me that like you will leave and I'm going to be all alone. Dude. And that all alone is scary and bad. And it's because for many of us, we grew up, it's so interesting that this is the turn we're taking, but I'm here for it, is like many of us grow up developmentally feeling like, again, pre-verbal. So before words are even online, it's like, I have all these body memories because, you know, right. Like I was at an event last night. It's like when somebody was saying like, it's not that we, as babies, it's not that we're choosing not to talk. It's that like we don't know how to talk. We just like literally don't know how to talk. So we don't have language, you know, as little ones. And so our brain, as we get older, it flips into a different form of memory that is attached to language. But before that, it's all what's called implicit or right brain memory, and it's like just literally body memory. And so for many of us, we have this memory. Whether it literally happened or it's a felt sense that like I was left alone and that was scary.
Well,
and
dude,
so,
you're speaking to exactly what B3 is helping me with personally, because like, and obviously there's it's nuanced and there are different ways this shows up for different people, but certainly for me, and again, I love what you said earlier. I'm not judging my parents. My parents did better than their parents, and that I'm grateful for. And their parents were deeply traumatized. And so like we got lineages of wounding here that we're all navigating. And so it's really not a blame game. It's just an acknowledgement. But like I was actually abandoned for 9 months. My mom vanished. She dropped us at our dad's house during a divorce and just like was gone, and I had no idea where she was. There was no phone calls, etc. And I've processed this a lot, but all that being said, what you were just speaking to is like that feeling of you're gonna leave me. And actually what I did was I left. Generally, I was a player. I use that term. It's like the simplest way to describe my coping mechanism for many years, from a young teenager till my sort of mid-20s, and even later, I really was processing it, although I was actively working on it from my mid-20s onwards. But I basically used relationships, especially with women, as a way I made sure I was the one in control. I made sure I had the power. Mm-hmm. Like I was always going to be the one who left. I was always going to be the one who wasn't as in love as she was, you know? So there was always that dynamic of like, I could bail on this anytime and it doesn't even matter. But it does, of course, and it hurts at some very deep, deep level. And what I'm finding now, because I've done so much work, I've been with my partner now 9 years. We have a kid on the way. Like we're married. It's amazing. And I still notice those parts of me that want to keep performing, want to keep like, am I doing enough? Is it like, is this enough? Is this going to make you stay with me? Like, are you going to stick around? And what I've noticed with B3 is there's no performance for me. That's the point, is it is the opposite of performance. It is presencing. Bingo. And so that's what I love. It's not a forceful, well, now I'm going to throw myself into the ice bath again, which I love, but I'm going to be there and I'm going to sit through it because I'm going to be a tough, big man. And it's like, it's like, I'm just going to sit with myself. And you said, we had one session where I was feeling anxiety. I don't remember what happened, but I said like, I think you did a check-in and you're like, what? And I was just like, I'm feeling anxious. And you said, okay,
Yeah,
if you're okay with it,
remember
let's
that.
just take a minute and just sit. And you just like, okay, there's anxiety. What is that? And just sit with that, breathe with that, be with that. And that was like, and immediately I felt a shift in myself where suddenly that part of me was not being rejected by the other parts of me. And it was like, oh, we're all welcome here. And that was beautiful.
Yeah.
Anyway, so yeah, thank you.
That's so great, Nathan. Thank you for sharing that. Man, even as you say that, I'm just like thinking about like challenging like the testosterone, and like if there's like men listening to this that are like, yeah, it's like part of me wants to be like, you really want to be a man? Like you really want to like be an intense badass motherfucker? It's like sit with anxiety.
Fuck.
You know what I mean? It's like fucking sit with anxiety, you know?
Fuck. Yes.
Like
Oh, man.
that's the thing, man. If you can do that, like then to me, that's a real man, you know?
Yeah, beautiful.
A
Well
man
said.
that's like willing to sit in the discomfort without like lashing out, without like blaming, without any of the other stuff. Is like, can I just sit at the most like fundamental level? Can I just sit with what's uncomfortable inside of my body? Like in somatic experience, and we talk about this a lot, is like the at its core, like the deepest part of being a human is feeling, is in sensation. It's like literally the discomfort. And I'm just realizing for some men, this might be helpful to hear this, is like sensation. Some examples of sensation are like that heaviness in my belly, or that tightness in my chest, or my right shoulder that like chronically like kind of clicks and, you know, like just doesn't quite feel like it's in the right place. Like instead of trying to fix every fucking thing, because that's what men were taught to do many times, can I just sit with that? Like, this is actually kind of uncomfortable, and just sit with that. And again, not to like stew in it. That's not the point, because that's where a lot of people shame this kind of stuff. It's actually to like really get real with what's actually there right now. And if I'm really real with what's there and I'm really honest about what's there, then I can actually shift it. But if I'm just like Pollyannishly like faking, like, you know, oh, well, that happened in the past and we don't have to worry about that, and I just need to move towards a better future. And it's like, I get that. That's valuable. And you got one of my teachers, Moshe Feldenkrais, who's an incredible movement, just like pioneer. He said, in order to know where you're going, you need to know where you are. In order to know where you're going, you need to know where you are. So I think it's so valuable. And I think that we really brush past that. I know I do, because it requires us to really be intimate with life. You know, like to really be intimate with life, to like let the grittiness of life kind of like impact me, for me to kind of take that in instead of trying to like run away from it. And I feel like a lot of my personal development growth over the years has been me actually running away from discomfort, has been me running away from pain. Yeah, I mean, that's why we do inspired action, because I don't want to kill that part in me. I think it's a really valuable part in us that wants to like take action.
Yeah.
You know, I think that's really beautiful. But I want to take action, and we talk about it as like the come from, like what's the place it's coming from in me? Is it coming from a place of anxiety that I'm taking action? Or am I taking action from a place of like, yeah, I felt the thing and I'm choosing not to do that anymore. Like I'm going to choose something differently. But I feel like grounded and centered in the thing. And it's like, that's been here. Yeah. The anxiety has been here, and damn, is it like scary, and I'm frustrated about it, and all the things that I might be feeling about that anxiety or whatever the thing is. But I'm going to instead choose this really tiny action, you know, that moves me forward towards more of what I do want. So
Yeah,
does
man.
that make sense?
And what you're speaking to, for me, what the word that's come up really strongly as I hear you is safety, because it's that all becomes possible through safety and B3 is a way to return to safety, especially facilitated by someone who's been trained, because there is that opportunity then to go to what might feel, as you said, gritty or uncomfortable, or might have been the anxiety, the stuff that I would often just be like, well, I'm just going to bypass that entirely and continue on my way. And instead, I'm choosing in this moment, in this context, to be with these parts, to allow these parts to come up in whatever that way they choose. And that requires a level of safety. And more, I see my role as a coach, and this is what I was doing before I did B3, and B3's just given me this, like, the final piece of this puzzle, at least so far, from what I can tell. There might be more pieces to the puzzle, but hey, here's where I am.
Probably
And
always, right? Yeah.
And what it's given me is this. All I'm doing as a so-called coach is just supporting a container of safety so that someone can come into that space. And often people are surprised, and this doesn't always happen, and it's not better that when this does happen, but often people are surprised by how much they cry or that tears want to come through. And that's generally, I've seen, as a state where suddenly someone is just being heard and seen, just without anything necessarily changing. It's just like, this is what I hear, this is what I see, I'm with you. And they're like, oh, fuck. Wow. Like, I have such goosebumps even just saying that. Like, it is such a big moment. I'm with you, and you're safe. All of you is welcome here.
Yeah, man, I love that. All of you is welcome here. Yeah, it was like, and many of us didn't get that. Didn't get all of you is welcome here.
No. No.
And it's so funny because I think so much of our pain in life comes from not all of you is welcome here.
Right.
It's like, hey, like, I'll accept this piece of Nathan, but like, I don't know about this piece. Well, actually that piece, well, let's push that away too. Let's ignore that. Let's avoid that. I don't like that part of you. Versus like, every single thing is welcome here. And this is why, as we were talking about at the very beginning, coming back around to the good and the bad, is like, when we label anxiety as bad, I'm going to avoid that thing like the plague.
Right.
Even though I'm feeling it, but I'm not going to acknowledge it. I'm just going to avoid acknowledging that the thing's there. But if it's just like, anxiety is just a part of being a human, because like, here we are 2025, and to date this, or maybe, you're listening to this in 2027, but like, anxiety is a thing. And it's there, and I can pretend that it's not there and just like sort of like wipe over it and go, oh, I'm actually feeling happy. Or I can just like sit in like, I'm just feeling this. I think that's really it, is like, can I just sit with whatever is actually here and go, hey, you're welcome. Oh, and you're welcome too. And you are, and like a little bit of happiness is here, and like, oh, and that's welcome too. And there's also like some grief in my chest, like, and that's welcome too. And it's so funny because I think I'm like, for me, I grew up in a world where I think like I would start to feel kind of crazy if I felt all of those things. But the irony is actually, by feeling those things as they come up, it actually like brings me back to like normal, as people might want to say, but like healthy, like I'm back in the flow of presence with life.
Right.
A lot quicker. But if I like resist and push those things away, it's like you were saying, it's this, as we were saying, like pretend mode of like pushing down. And then it's just so much more to process at some point.
And then it explodes.
Than just like allowing it to happen.
Dude,
and it explodes.
My coaching teacher I'm trained in a modality called Inner Life Skills, which was developed by an incredible woman here in South Africa. Really, her story is just so inspiring. There's one story that we use as a kind of metaphor. Is like, okay, imagine you standing kind of waist deep in some water, and your whole life people have told you, and you're surrounded by these floating balloons, of different colors. There's yellow balloons and green balloons and red balloons. And your whole life people have told you those red balloons are really bad. Like you shouldn't, if you really have red balloons, that's a problem. And so what do you spend your time doing? But you are trying to push down all the red balloons under the water. And it takes a lot of energy because they're buoyant. They want to, and so you push and push and push, but eventually one slips or you get tired and you let go. And what happens then? They come bursting out of the water. These red balloons come splashing out with this chaotic energy. And then you start the whole thing again. So often this coaching process, this life process, is learning how to allow everything to float on the surface, to allow everything to be present, and then to, from that place, make decisions.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that metaphor. I've heard that one as well. I love that one. It's a good one. I'm even thinking, like, do you sometimes lift up some of the balloons even? You know, I'm like, what do
Definitely.
we,
Oh,
what do
yeah. The
what do we
nice
do with
guy.
balloons?
The
But-
nice guy's a big one. It's like, oh yes, this golden balloon of being the nice guy. We love that. So hold that one up with all your
The golden
strength.
balloon. Yes. Yeah.
I actually wanted to ask you, because we are coming towards the end. Time flies when I'm having fun. And I really want to give people something practical they can even practice in this moment. Just kind of segueing back into this process. What is a simple body-based practice, a B3 practice, anything that someone could use even right now, even if they're driving, that could support in kind of moving from those spiraling, overthinking, spinning into dropping into the body a little bit?
Yeah. Oh, that's so great, Nathan. Well, we've gone with the word safety a couple times. So I really actually love that idea. So yeah, so we'll sort of like go on a little bit of a hunt for safety, and like, what's that look like? What's that feel like? What's that seem like? So if you're in a car listening to this, please keep your eyes on the road, obviously, but for everyone else, I encourage you to just allow your gaze to kind of just meander around your environment. Just allow your eyes to just sort of take a walk about your room, and not intently staring at anything, really softening the eyes and just allowing the environment to come to you. Noticing if you see plants or trees outside, maybe if you have access to a window, maybe you can see 20, 30 feet away. Noticing if you see paintings on the walls. And why we do this is called orientation, and it's actually just my ability to recognize, in the most literal sense, that my environment is safe, that there isn't a saber-toothed tiger in my environment. So it's actually me consciously choosing to check out the environment, to go, oh yeah, actually this isn't too bad. And then you can turn on your ears for a moment and just notice, as you be in your environment, notice what sounds are close to you, including the sound of my voice, and also what sounds are far away. Can you hear cars on the road? Maybe you can hear wind running through the trees. And then even noticing the temperature in the room right now that I'm in. Maybe you're outside. Notice the temperature around you on your skin. Does it seem like it's maybe a little bit too warm, a little bit too cold? Maybe it's just right. And then if you need to make any adjustments even, you can go turn a thermostat, change the temperature, put on a blanket, take off your pants, whatever would make you feel most comfortable. But again, it's about actually like allowing the environment to suit me for a moment, and also just checking out what about it is actually just okay, just the way it is even. And then even the last thing here, maybe being the lighting, just checking, does it seem like I could maybe close a blind, open a blind, turn on a light, turn off a light? This environment. So it's like I'm just allowing myself to get kind of cozy in this environment without necessarily needing to like get under a blanket, but like what would actually just allow me to feel like this is a comfortable or maybe even safe environment to be in. And then from there, and if you're still moving things around, that's great. Feel your feet on the floor. Just like the actual sensation. So we call this working the periphery. So now I'm starting to like come in towards the body a little bit more. So we were just in the environment outside of the body. So now we'll come to the feet and just feel your feet on the floor. And notice what that sensation is like. If your feet are on carpeting or if they're on hardwood floor, or maybe they're on dirt. What are your feet on? What's underneath your feet? And how do you feel that impacting your feet? And then feel your seat in your chair, or if you're walking, again, you can continue to feel your feet, but if you're seated, you can feel your seat in your chair or in your couch. And then for this next part, I'll just invite you. Some people might feel safe to close down your eyes. If you feel super advanced, you might want to close down your eyes. If you feel a little uncertain, you might want to keep a soft gaze, maybe 2 feet in front of you, kind of lowering your gaze down. And just with this idea of safety, I'd be curious what images come to your mind, just as you think about safety. Do you have a picture of a beloved grandmother, or your partner, or a pet, or your bed as you think about safety? What images or even mental movies begin to play? Yeah. And then noticing if there's any sensations in your body. Like as you think about safety, so it's like I'm still thinking about safety. What do you notice? Like for me, I noticed that my root, or like sort of my butt cheeks, like they just soften. Like I actually can feel my seat sort of melting into the chair. And maybe your chest feels a little bit softer, or your belly feels a little bit softer. Some people, as they think about safety, their eyes kind of soften back into their eye sockets. Just noticing what it's like for you when you think about safety. And I want you to know the other option is maybe your belly's actually really tight. Maybe your shoulders tighten up. Maybe it feels kind of buzzy when you think about safety. And then lastly, and this one might be a harder one for some of us to access, and for others of us, this might be really easy. What emotion is there as you think about safety? Happy, sad, joy, disgust, anger. When you think about safety, what do you notice? Yeah. And then we'll kind of come out the same way we came in, which is just orientation. So you can just kind of slowly, in your time, you can listen to the sounds around you, including the sound of my voice, and you can gently open up your eyes, take a look around, and just take in the environment again, and just notice. This is the most important part, so don't miss this part. What's different? What's shifted? As you look outside you in your environment, what's different now? This is the most important part. What's different? Yeah. So there you are. Yeah. And I encourage you, as we're kind of like wrapping up here, is like, what are you noticing? Like what really stands out to you? Yeah.
Thank you.
I'll say for me, yeah, you're so welcome, Nathan. And I'd be curious. Yeah. What are you noticing, Nathan? Actually, let's go there.
I felt just a huge amount of gratitude in this moment, really, because as you invited in the imagery, I saw my brother, I saw my wife, I saw these people in my life who I feel really safe with. And I just felt so grateful that I actually have, through a lot of work and a lot of like courage, developed safe relationships. Yeah. And so, I just, And it also felt good to be available. I really was like, hey, I'm thinking of safety. If whatever feeling wants to come, if it's fear or sadness or anger. And so just really that sense of safe enough to welcome it all, and then
It's
just
all
allow
welcome.
what came. And that really,
Yeah.
so thank you.
Oh yeah. Thank you, Nathan. Well, and I'll say too, for some people, your image might actually have been like that that trail that you always walk on, and that tree that you see. Because, Nathan, I'm so grateful to hear that you have family and friends and people in your world that feel really safe. And for a lot of us men and women, I mean, for everyone, there are a lot of people that like people don't always feel safe. And so I want to also just acknowledge that for some of us, maybe you have a kitty that you just like, you have a cat or you have a dog or you have, like you have an animal or even like your plants, like some of us have plants that are just like, man, when I'm with that plant, I feel so safe, so I just want to celebrate that too, that it's like, it's not about perfection in any of this. It's not about like there is a good or there is a bad. It's actually about what is safe. What is safe? And that's what I want to keep tuning into is what is safe, because there's nothing universal when it comes to that. Safety is safety. And
Yeah, man.
yeah.
Yeah, thank you. And so much. It's you've reminded me, I put a video out recently speaking about this pivot of consciously choosing to support these men who are, again, ticking all the boxes on paper and feeling like, why am I not getting the love I really need? How do I stop performing? How do I drop into presence? And just all the challenges that come with that. And honestly, on YouTube, the video of that has probably the most negative comments I've received on a post in recent memory. And I don't, maybe negative isn't the right word, but people feeling frustrated with it, or feeling like they're like, what do you, just sharing in a way that I'm like, it sounds like these lovely people have given up on that level of safety, of connection, of relationship. And that's really, just acknowledging that for many people, for many of us, safety in relating with people is like very far off the table in this moment in many ways. And that's completely, it's sad. And it's also where we're at right now. Like, honestly, isolation is one of the world's most like top actual epidemics right now. I read an article about that recently of like, isolation is one of the things that's causing disease in the world at the highest rate, where people are just so alone. And that's just, man, that's heartbreaking. So thank you for bringing that forward and honoring anyone listening to this, wherever you are in your journey. Like truly. So all right. Well, we are coming to the end of this lovely experience, and I see we have a comment on Substack, so thank you to anyone. This is a live stream. I didn't say that earlier. For anyone listening to the replay of this or this on a podcasting platform, I am now live streaming as many recordings as I can because I love it so much. And someone commented saying, this was Anne-Marie commented saying, I do this orienting exercise. I don't know if it's the same one, but from Irene Lyon's nervous system tune-up, and it really helps me when I'm aware that I am disassociating and not in my body. So simple, but very effective.
Yes. Thank you, Anne-Marie. Yeah, it is. It's the same thing. Yeah. I love Irene Lyon's Smart Body, Smart Mind program. I think that's how you say it. It's either Smart Body, Smart Mind, Smart Mind, Smart Body, one of those things, but it's a phenomenal program. And she teaches this. She also comes from somatic experiencing as well, but it's just a phenomenon of nature and science. And, it's really special. So I'm so happy that it touched you as well. Yeah.
Yeah. And Anne-Marie also just said, safety allows vulnerability. So important. Yes.
Amen. Yeah.
Okay. Well, one more question for you before we close for today. And the question is, when you hear we are already free, what comes up for you?
Yeah, it's this thing that we spoke about earlier. It's like agency. Is like I have the ability, using that brain analogy, is like I have the ability to have possibility and choice. And I could technically do anything that I want. And for so many of us, our nervous systems and our bodies have told us for so long how unsafe the world is. And so I live in this binary of survival of like life, death, yes, no, black, white, good, bad. And so we are already free, to me, is to say that like we have this ability and it can come back online. And with support of people like Nathan and our other incredible B3 practitioners and so many other people that are teaching these things, we can get that back. We can have that back. It's not gone forever. It may feel that way some days. But if we feel like we're stuck in survival energy, we are free. We are already free. And it's not a learning that, it's a remembering that. And I'm grateful that we get to share this with people in a way that they can remember that they are already free.
Oh man, thank you for that. That's it. I love the remembering aspect for me. I actually say that at the end of every episode. Please remember, we are already free. So it's exactly that piece of like, it's Michelangelo. It's talking about, was it Michelangelo? I think talking about David, the sculpture. And when people are like, how did you make something so beautiful and so perfect? And he's like, I just chipped away everything that wasn't David until only David was left. And it's like, it's just that remembering is that chipping away, that allowing to fall away. So yeah, thank you. And I will have this in the links and I will speak to it in a moment. But if anyone is wanting to find out more about you, what is the best place for them to find out about you, about B3, about what you're up to? Where would you direct them?
Yeah, Body-Based Breakthrough, bodybasedbreakthrough.com. It's Body-Based Breakthrough on Instagram as well. We post a lot of fun content on there, and we have a lovely newsletter where we share these things. And if you want to become certified as a Body-Based Breakthrough somatic coach, a B3 certified somatic coach, our goal is by 2035 to certify over 1 million trauma-informed somatic coaches, purely for the reason of we want it to be silly in 2035 that anyone would be not trauma informed. And so we just want to be a part of the solution of helping people along that way. So we've certified over 100 people at this point, and I'm so proud and honored that Nathan is one of the B3 certified somatic coaches. Yes. So many more to come. So if that's something that's interesting to you, you can find out more about that on the website. Otherwise, please hire Nathan to do somatic coaching because he's incredible. So that's my plug for you.
Thank you, brother. And thank you again for everything you bring through, man. Like I just, it is a continuing blessing to know you and be connected with you and to have gone through your course. And honestly, for anyone who's kind of on the fence or even just considering skilling up or supporting your own journey of healing or wanting to support others in this space, like Matthew holds such an incredible space. And it will, even if you're coming at it from like, I just want to learn a new skill that I can help others with, I promise you yourself will be so supported in your own journey. And it's not just the actual content itself, it's also the way that you, Matthew, hold the space, and it's also the way that you hold the container with everyone who's there, and the way we're all encouraged to like integrate with each other and interact with each other. And so, yeah, brother, just could not shower enough stars on you for this. Thank you so much. What a pleasure.
Oh, appreciate you so much, man. Yeah man. Thanks so much. And
Wicked.
Looking forward to so much more.
Yes, definitely. I'm going to gently nudge you into the green room and do a little outro here, and then we'll hop on after. But thanks again, brother. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks, Nathan.
All right, you gorgeous humans. What an incredible episode. I feel so safe, actually. I feel safe and centered and connected. And again, thank you to Matthew and to Body-Based Breakthrough, his presence, his wisdom. These very honest and open conversations, I think, are so important in these times to help us all to remember that you're not alone and that all of you is welcome here and that you can reconnect with that. I mean, some very simple takeaways around here are just like your body is sending you messages all the time. There's like 20 million signals coming in. Your body you can only consciously be aware of 40 of those. So it's about, is our body attuned to the aspects of life that are moving us into expansion, into connection, into safety? Or are we stuck in old loops and cycles that are no longer serving us? And again, without pushing those away, there are ways to process this, to allow this to come through and to be resolved, and so that we have more capacity to really show up in our lives without having to overthink and loop our thoughts trying to solve the stuff just with our mind, we have so much more available. And B3 is a way to support that in a very simple, very safe way. So please do check out Body-Based Breakthrough. Check out my work if you'd like to. Come and get on a call with me. But you can find, I've created a short link for you to make it easy. If you go to alreadyfree.me/B3, that will take you immediately to Matthew's website, to Body-Based Breakthrough, and with more information. Again, I could not recommend it highly enough, like very, very much so. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being here with me. It's been a pleasure, whether you joined in live or whether you're joining in as a replay listener. It's such an epic journey to be on this path with you, and I'm so excited to share more conversations like this. So yeah, whether you are a man who's ticked all those boxes and you're still feeling alone, or you're a woman who is supporting that kind of man or wants to call a rooted, vulnerable, connected man into your life, or you yourself are experiencing these challenges, please reach out. You are not alone. Body-Based Breakthrough is here. I am here, and we would love to support you. So for now, I wish you well. I will be back again next week with another episode. Hopefully, I mean, I've got a child on the way any moment, so I may need to take a little break, but with all intentions, I'll be there. So thank you. I wish you well. And as always, please remember, we are already free.